Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Two Robbies podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and debate on every Premier League match weekend and the Champions League as well midweek. I'm Robbie Mustoe, he's Robbie Earle, and coming up on today's episode, all the twists and turns in a thrilling but controversial Merseyside Derby, Tottenham's second half collapse against West Ham, Chelsea's continuing to have issues at the back after conceding 3 against the Saints, Man United responding well after that 6-1 defeat to Spurs. Teacher getting the better of pupil in Man City's 1-0 win over Arsenal. And we assess who the contenders and pretenders are for the title race. That's what we've coming up on today's episode. Oh, Robbie, it's been a long weekend, mate. It's been a long weekend.
What a weekend.
God, blimey, the Saturday games and matchups, the incidents, the drama, the bad decisions, the good stuff. It's just a lot to get through. Everton 2, Liverpool 2, much anticipated derby, Rob, given the way that Everton have been playing with their manager and their new players. We all know what the big talking point is, Rob, the VAR controversies. I'm going to jump straight to it. I'll get your take first. I don't know whether most listeners have heard my take on it, but the red card for Jordan Pickford that wasn't given, the very serious injury it now seems to Virgil van Dijk, who will undergo surgery on knee ligament damage, and several reports have said that it's the ACL, which will probably keep him out anywhere between 7 and 9 months. Can you give any out to David Coote, who was the VAR, or I think it was Michael Oliver was the main referee, of not giving the red card to Jordan Pickford for that challenge? Talk us through it in terms of your eyes, Rob, and what you saw.
No, I can't, Rob. I think David Coote doesn't take all the blame. I think Michael Oliver, and I've read a couple of things that have said, I believe there was nearly 3 to 4 minutes between the incident happening and Virgil van Dijk limping off. Why in that time can Michael Oliver not go, let me go and have a look at this? Why is that communication not able to say, you know what, I'm going to have a look at this while I've got time, while he's being treated, while things are going on in the game, and take a second look? Now, that's on the basis, Rob, that Virgil van Dijk is ruled offside. I believe then that stops the play, and VAR supposedly stopped the play there. They can't then check what's going on. But then we see the red card offence by Richarlison was after a whistle was blown when there was a foul in the middle of the field, like on Mane or something, and he does the tackle on Thiago. So that actually blows that out the water. In terms of looking at the incident, Rob, any way you look at that incident, it is a red card offence. Now, supposedly, and this is where I think that the PGMOL don't do themselves a disservice, it was deemed that having looked at the situation and that he was attempting to play the ball, it wasn't seen as a red card offence. So, hence, we played on in the situation we are, which absolutely cannot be right. And I read, and I would love to take praise for the analogy, was it's like being parked, putting your car on a meter, and you're 30 seconds out from the meter and you get a ticket. We're talking about inches of whether people are onside or offside in both the Liverpool situations. Yet somebody can be smashing your car, breaking the window, stealing out the thing, and you know what the parking attendant's saying? No, it's nothing to do with me. I'm only here for the ticket. I mean, it's like, how can somebody's knee be in a situation where he's going to lose 12 months virtually of top-class football, yet VAR, which is brought in to help the game, does nothing about it? Then it's not doing its job.
Yeah, I think back on your first point there, Michael Oliver, he is relying on David Coote, and I'll get your point. He's relying on David Coote to say, wow, that looked pretty nasty, Michael. Go and check it out. But you're right in what you say, Rob. If he's not sure, and we got this firsthand from a meeting at Stockley Park at the beginning of last season when it first came in, that the referee can also say,
correct,
David, are we sure? He can ask.
Correct. He can ask the other way
to go over himself. So, so that is something. But it's still on David Coote. And let me just try and do it as quick as I can. VAR checked that incident for a penalty. Was it a penalty when the goalkeeper came out? Okay, so they go back then to look at leading up to that offside. So that particular is offside because it's not a penalty if he's offside. They check it, it's tight, he's offside. and that's when they wanted to kind of like, oh, it's not a penalty because he's offside, and didn't look at the incident again to say, well, actually, just one more look at that, because we know now, and we got it from the PGML, that you can be sent off from serious foul play, even in that situation, if the ball has gone or the whistle's blown or anything. So they could have done it, and they just didn't. And this is where I blame David Coote. Didn't look, who actually refereed the last game today on Monday. They didn't look at it as a serious foul play incident. That's the big failure in that game.
But I read and heard that they said they did look at it and that it wasn't deemed as a serious foul play.
Okay. Yeah. Whether he didn't look at it and just wanted to move on, or maybe looked and says
reports are looking at it and said which also then tells me what I mean. The outcome of this is that Liverpool lose their linchpin defender, and all of a sudden we're talking about a different season for Liverpool, Rob. Starting with Champions League, starting with all the other things. I mean, we know it, and I just wanted to I thought it might be a chance for us to maybe give a little bit of thought to what it's like to have. I mean, I don't know, during your career, I had what I would call serious long-term injury. Just what Virgil van Dijk's going to go through now. It's a huge loss to the football club, but for the individual, an ACL generally, they'll wait a week or two maybe if swelling's there or to go down before they do the operation. They'll do the operation in the next 14 days, you would think. The operation's done, he has to go through his rehab. He goes back into the football club. You're sitting there watching your mates train. You get frustrated. Your healing doesn't go quite as well as you think, or as sometimes as well as you hope. You get frustrated. You get snappy at home. Eventually, you start getting back. You might get back to running and jogging in 6 months' time. All of a sudden, Rob, you have a little hamstring pull because your body's not been used to the tensions. So you have to sit out for 2 weeks because your hamstring's a bit tight. And those are the kind of things that, as a professional footballer, unfortunately, fans don't see the day-to-day of what that injury is. They'll see him, limping. He'll have a frame or a plaster on his leg, and then he'll be, a few months down the line, hopefully starting to start his rehabilitation. But the day-to-day of what's coming, the mental...
Yeah, it's the rehab.
The rehab. Knowing that you've got six months, if things go well, before you're back to feeling like your best. And then, I mean, the other thing, Rob, and I hate to say it, and modern technology and surgery has moved on so far from, in our day, it was a really bad injury that could be career-threatening. But we've seen one or two players, and I don't know exactly. Kurt Zouma had the same injury, but fell on his knee in a Chelsea game and I don't think Kurt Zouma's ever been the same player since he had that injury. And as great as Virgil van Dijk's been, I mean, there's a small percent. There's a small percent that he's not quite the athlete that he was because of the surgery.
Yeah, just before we get on and talk about the consequences to Liverpool's back line and title defence, just a word on Jordan Pickford. Now, when things like this happen, there is obviously a big emotional response from everybody around the game that covers the game. And I heard it again. He gets off scot-free. Now, I know the rules and the protocol, I'm not expecting any retrospective action.
No, there was talk that they might be able to look at it, but that's not going to. You can't second referee that situation. Yeah.
Just a quick. I mean, I don't agree with this, but there is a little bit of comment out there, Rob, about should a player that imparts such an injury on another footballer somehow have to take on a bigger punishment. I mean, there's talk about you shouldn't be able to play until he can play.
Yeah, I heard that.
I'm not. I get where it comes from, but I don't think that's a smart way of. Does it? I mean, how? And I got a text from my buddy Scott, who's a Liverpool fan, who was distraught for a whole night about what had happened, and just the feeling of injustice that awful challenge goes unpunished. The game would have changed if it's down to 10 men. They'd probably go on and win the game, losing the best player, best defensive player in Europe, and some people would say central defender for a very long time. There's nothing else can be done, Rob, is there?
I'll tell you what it does do, though, Rob. And to be fair, Jordan Pickford came up with a couple of brilliant saves during the game. The one from the Matip header was a fantastic reflex. But also, you just know the brash kind of mismanagement of situations, running out bad decisions, making the foul. I don't like. I understand the sentiment where people are talking about, should something happen, should he be out for a period of time or be banned or whatever. But I don't ever think the outcome of a challenge should not decide whether you get banned or not, because sometimes it's accidentally, legs get broken accidentally. Well, what's that mean? You're 6 weeks out.
Yeah.
I mean, this was just a really poor challenge. The more you see it, the worse it gets. The more you're thinking this looks serious. Where I think it hurts and will hurt Jordan Pickford is after the game. Again, we're talking about Jordan Pickford at Everton Football Club. Yeah. That's not what Carlo Ancelotti wants. That's why he brought in Robin Olsen as a number 2. That's why in time, if he keeps making those mistakes, Rob, if he keeps making those kind of things, we will see a change at Everton Football Club.
Just on Everton, Rob, before we get into Liverpool's kind of potential title defence, did they get no, that's not the right way of saying it in terms of getting found out. Given the higher intensity, given that Liverpool press, did you expect Everton's midfield to find a way through that a little bit easier, a little bit better? Was this kind of a new level where, that's kind of hard to play against that pressing?
I thought it was Liverpool showing that gear that they've got, that extra bit that they got. They showed against Arsenal. I think they showed against Chelsea that they showed they can go to. At the moment, Everton aren't at. That's where Everton are trying to get. That's that 6th to 1st position. Yeah. And I actually thought Everton did okay in staying in the game and getting the things and competing at a level. But there's another gear for Liverpool when they're on top, and that's the bit that Everton have got to get to. So. I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed, the injuries are a horrible thing, and it not only hinders Liverpool, but as observers of the game, objective, you want to see the Van Dijks there. But it had a bit of everything, didn't it? It had the challenges, there was the fouls, there was the goals, there was great goalkeeping, there was terrible goalkeeping. It has all the ingredients. But unfortunately, and you've said it, the consequences for Liverpool, well, we'll find out, Rob. We'll find out a little bit about Liverpool as well now, that back four. I mean, my sense is, can they get to Christmas? Can they get to the January window and take a look?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be it, and how much of a blow is it? They still conceded 2 goals in this game. There's talk about, what I just still look at Liverpool's backline as not being the same, and now they have this situation happen in terms of the title.
Who are you thinking more? And we'll talk at the end about the odds of teams. But who are you thinking more? Does Fabinho become a key possible centre back with a partner? For me, Gomez and Matip at the moment, I don't feel as comfortable with.
But that's probably going to be how he approaches it, Rob, to start with. I mean, they're 2 centre-backs, 2 natural centre-backs that have done well for the most part, almost always with Van Dijk. The 2 of them will have to find an understanding, development together. Fabinho is there if it's not quite going right. Or I think it was a Matip and Joe Gomez, particularly Matip, that he gets a lot of injuries. So if he's out for a little while, then it will be Fabinho. I just think, given this manager, given that midfield powerhouse in terms of protecting the back four, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be as dramatic drop off in results and defensive performances as maybe a lot of people think. But you're right. We're going to go through some odds at the end of this podcast. And figure out who is the favourites for now for the title, whether it's Liverpool or whether it's Man City or somebody else. We'll have those odds later on, and we'll go through maybe in more detail how we think this affects the title race, and who's going to be favourite from now on in. But really disappointing news for Van Dijk. Pretty good game, 2-2.
Yeah, great game. Unfortunate news, and we wish him well. We wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully, listen, fingers crossed. Last few games of the season, we could see him. That'd be brilliant for Liverpool and for Van Dijk. I can't let you off this one, mate. We're going to talk Tottenham. We're going to talk West Ham United. We're going to talk Robbie Mustoe talking about Tottenham as title contenders. Whoa.
Only vaguely.
We've got to vague now.
Well, it wasn't mine. It was Harry Redknapp's first shout about watch them go. They could win a title, and I thought, wow,
top team they are. Top team is Harry.
Yeah, top team. He said, and I thought it wouldn't be it wouldn't be amazingly surprising to me to see them going for it if Gareth Bale gets in and looks strong and he's not injured so much, and he can get to 80% of what he was before, or his very best 80-90%. Then when you look at that front line and why they played in the first 15-20 minutes, Rob, was flipping stunning. I thought absolutely stunning. I said it at halftime on the show. Wow, I haven't seen Spurs play as well as that with the ball, creative, end production. Harry Kane was fantastic.
That was the top Poch saw there. That was when Poch had them, nailed on, and they were looking like they could go and win a title under Pochettino before Leicester won it. But Robbie Mustoe,
what happened?
Something goes wrong.
Well, now, you tell me.
I thought the second half of the game, and certainly the last 15 minutes, is why at the moment you cannot trust Tottenham, and you've never said that at Jose Mourinho's teams. And in converse, I thought West Ham United showed a spirit and a drive and an eagerness to stay in the game that was refreshing, and also is a reward for David Moyes and the work that he's done at the football club. Right there.
You know what? West Ham United's that performance is not in a Mamo Pellegrini West Ham. 3-0 down. They're down in
not a West Ham performance, is it? West Ham are usually done by then.
Yeah. And this goes back to David Moyes, Rob, and I always thought that it was the right guy at a difficult time for the football club.
Yeah,
and you weren't so sure. You weren't so sure whether he's the right guy.
I wasn't so sure.
I just think he's a fighter, and he's made some signings that help in terms of what he wants to do, and very, very impressive. West Ham's comeback. Mikel Antonio does what he does. We know that Jared Bowen has got quality on the right hand side. Lanzini comes in for his first Premier League minutes of the season, and it goes into the top corner. Yeah, full marks on West Ham United and what they did, even from 3-0 down, they still
they weren't out trying to play. No, absolutely weren't out the game. But we have to talk about, Rob, the part. What we've said for the last 6 months of Jose taking the team, the defence will get sorted out. Don't worry about that. It's the other end of the pitch. It's almost going in reverse. They look such a threat now. Harry Kane coming deeper, runners going in from deep, but Bale comes on. You think about what's going forward. But Rob, there is no sense of defensive stability, resistance. Set pieces, Rob. Every time the ball goes in the box, I think they might concede. It look like they might concede. Their defensive organisation is nowhere near what a top 2 or 3 club is going to have.
And you're right. And I asked Tim Howard, was it? I think it was on air when we had this conversation, and he's saying, "Oh, Jose, he'll figure it out. He'll figure out the defensive." And I said to him, "Yeah, we've been saying that for the last flipping 6 months or more than that. That the first thing he'll do is to get defensive structure, and then the rest of it will come afterwards." Well, we just haven't seen it. Davinson Sanchez, Rob, was a player that when he first came to the club, with that pace, the youthful excitement for him to defend, I am not sure that he's a Spurs level centre back. He makes me nervous. He must make his teammates nervous. He kind of is a tired lean into the header that goes into the back of his own net. Jan Vertonghen, of course, left the football club. Alderweireld is a very experienced player that's a little older now.
Needs a right.
This new kid they brought in, Rob. Maybe he can help in the defensive areas, the centre back, because I like Sergio Reguilon. I think he makes him better at left back. Brilliant ball in for Kane's header for the third goal. Doherty is there. Sergio is there. The centre back situation might be the issue here for this team, and really kicking on to making the ultimate title challenge. I don't know without that issue at centre back.
Rigor, Rob. I remember, and I'll again. Excuse me if it's repeating old podcast, but I remember going to watch Chelsea in the early Mourinho days. John Terry and Carvalho as 2 centre-backs. I saw them in games. I kid you not. I saw them in big games. They played Arsenal once at Stamford Bridge. They were almost giving Arsenal the ball and laughing and saying, "Come on, try again. Try and break us down." The ball would come in. John Terry put his head up. Carvalho would get a block, and William Gallas would be there. I think it was Ashley Cole or Wayne Bridge. I mean, it was a back four that were almost, you're not going to penetrate us. And all the talk was what Josie did on the training ground, how he worked them, how they got themselves shaped. What that can't be happening, or these players can't be understanding. That's the only thing I can think of.
Or they're not good enough to be able to do that, Rob.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it be a shame? Wouldn't it be a shame after we watched this game? And I did a tactical breakdown, which should be on YouTube, should be on today, about how Spurs played, Rob, and this really nice movement of Kane coming deep and the wide players of Bergwijn and Son that normally wide came real. It's real narrow and it's really good. It allows space for the fullbacks to get forward as well. I just wonder if Jose at some point is going to say, okay, listen, let's rewind this. We can't be on the front foot. I'm sorry, Son, you got to come back. I'm sorry, Bergwijn or Bale or whoever it is, you got to come back and help. I'm sorry, Ndombele, who, by the way, is sneakily. There was an example, and we don't like to say it when it happens, Rob. To be fair, when Mourinho does the tough love and the public humiliation, right, which he's done for Rashford and Luke Shaw, and we saw it with Ndombele.
And Dele Alli.
It sometimes does work, by the way. Sometimes does work. And Ndombele, I think he came off later in the match, but in general, he's starting to be better. He's in a nice role, playing in a number 10. I just wonder if Jose goes back at some point and say, listen, let's block it up. Let's just block it up. Or whether he just says, you know what, this team at the moment, it is what it is. We'll have a little bit of a go, and I'll try my best to try and make defensive improvements. But it just might hinder them in doing something really special this season. Yeah.
I don't want to give too much Jose love, though, because I'm going to go to my underappreciated performance of the week in this game. And just before we move on, and I've got to give it to David Moyes.
Oh, underappreciated by you. Robbie.
The one thing I'll say is I'll hold my hands up, Robbie Mustoe, when I'm wrong. And the scenes at the end, the David Moyes running on the pitch, hop, skip, jumping, punching the air,
amazing,
magnificent. And Declan Rice said it was a special victory. It was a special way to. Sorry, it even feels like it. It's a special joy, a special way to get the point. And I've said before and on record that there's a spirit coming back to West Ham that's important. That David Moyes is building. That he's getting the right kind of people around him and in his football club. And the guys, Soufal and Souček look like they're good additions, solid additions to the group. And there was all the talk before the game that, David Moyes is better when he sits at home on his sofa, and that's when they get results. And fair play to him today, because at 3-0 down, social media was again, send Moyesy home and something might come. Well, I'll tell you what, made a really big call, and I heard him talking about after game where he said at half-time, would have been easy to say, right, off you come, change. So we were in the game, and I believed in the group, and I left it as it was.
Yeah,
and it was strong, a big decision to do that. And in the end, he gets his reward. The Lanzini goal is something special that gets him the point. And fair play to David Moyes. And, he's had to take a bit of stick off me at times, but it looks like he's just starting to get this thing rolling.
Does a result like this, Rob, we have seen moments like this that changes perception, changes opinion of those West Ham fans that want it done in a certain way, that aren't enamored by David Moyes managing their team, this West Ham team. I feel like that is a strong statement of, listen, I've got this. And I hope that the West Ham fans now embrace this guy when they come back into the stadiums, which you're all dying to see again. Do you think, Rob, just finally before we move on?
Unfortunately for me, and this is the problem that David Moyes has, he's 3 straight games away from David Moyes is not the guy again. Unfortunately, that's who he is. He's always going to have to fight that. He's always going to have to stay on top of results, and every now and then maybe have one of these magical wins or draws to kind of appease the fans. But listen, I think David Moyes appreciates it, understands it, knows exactly who he is and what he's doing, and fair play to him. Great result for West Ham, great tonic, and well done, David Moyes. So let's move on to Chelsea Football Club, Robbie Mustoe, because again,
similar stories
about defending, questions about Frank's approach, questions about have Chelsea learned anything from last season? Are they any better in doing the things we talked about from last season? 54 goals they conceded last season. Looks like they're going to be a similar team again.
9 goals conceded in 5.
Yeah,
that's almost. I know it's early. That's almost two goals against in every game.
Yeah, so the answer
to that, they haven't learned anything at the moment. Now, where you have to be we have to give him a little bit of leeway is that there is a lot of new players that are trying to integrate into the side. And I'm not sure how long it was, but we did see, the front four that I'm sure that the Chelsea fans are wanting to see. We had Timo Werner playing up front.
Yeah.
Christian Pulisic played on the left-hand side. Kai Havertz and Hakim Ziyech came on the right side for Mason Mount.
Yeah.
Or the other way around. I think Pulisic actually started on the right, but then moved to the left. Anyway, that was the four that they want. And N'Golo Kante, Robbie Earle, that plays alongside Jorginho. So it's a 4-2-3-1, which I like the consistency that Frank's showing with that. And N'Golo Kante is the only defensive-minded player of the front six to help defensively is N'Golo Kante. I don't know whether that's enough. And I don't know whether the central, so that's one issue. And in between Kurt Zouma, Andreas Christensen, Thiago Silva, is there a good enough centre-back combination?
No, there isn't.
So what's got to change? Is he got to take out
$300 million expended? You just asked. You just made a question in the debate. You said N'Golo Kante is the only one of those three. I would argue Azpilicueta and N'Golo Kante are the only real defenders in that whole team. Real defenders. Defenders who put their body on the line. Defenders who will block. Defenders who will get their body in the way and want to win the ball back. The others, Christensen wants to be a footballer. Kurt Zouma can't.
Going forward.
If you stand long enough around Kurt Zouma, he's going to give you a chance in a game. Ben Chilwell wants to back there forward. He's a good player, but he wants to get on the front foot and be in the attacking third. And the rest of the team doesn't have that responsibility. The flaws in the defensive of Chelsea Football Club are going to hinder them. And at this point, Rob, and Frank's like, starting to be 18 months into the job, you'd have to say, at the moment, Frank's teams can't defend.
Do you think, Rob, right, so solutions, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it should have spent more of this $300 million on defender or a top-class centre-back.
Yeah.
Do you, what my solution to it will be on the training ground. You've got to make the likes of Ziyech or Pulisic or Havertz, other guys, be more accountable for when Chelsea Football Club don't have the ball. We've been in the studio before, and I've said, I pointed to the tactical screen and said, look, Chelsea are defending here, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 blue shirts. They're out of the game. They're the wrong side of the ball. I don't see a compact Chelsea, Rob. But
that's a team thing, Rob, isn't it? I know sometimes you talk about the white players particularly because they like to stay high and almost contest. Like, if you go forward, I'm going to stay, then we're going to hurt you. But at the moment, they're not good enough to do that. But it becomes a team thing. I don't think the team are defensive-minded enough when they don't have the ball. I think they only really come to life when they got possession.
Well, that's what I make the same point. That's what I'm saying. When the opponent's got the ball, these artists have got to say, okay, right, what are we going to do? And show more willingness to do both sides of the game. And then they'll be harder to break down. I just watched it today with Wolves. Absolutely happy to find the ball, let Leeds United have it and play. We're going to sit back in here, and then we're going to defend as a team, and we're going to counter-attack as a team.
Chelsea got way more going forward than Wolves have. Going forward with that pace and the ability and technique, they could put teams. But
they haven't got the desire to want to get back and defend when it needs to be.
They've got to look at some Liverpool tapes when Liverpool are good. They've got to look at those kind of tapes and see that good teams still put the work in, still defend from the front, still make it difficult through midfield. But something Frank's going to have to get his head around. And
just one last comment, Rob. Just one other way of finding a solution, and this goes back to Chelsea under Frank from day one. When they're in the lead, they're very defensively compact and strong. We just talked about, or the other side of it, which you might say that a really good team, a City or a Liverpool, keep it then. If you're 1 or 2 goals up, well, keep it then. Make the opponent to get on the ball, to find a pass, to move the ball quickly, to pass on the space and the time, and frustrate opponents. They're not doing that. Or the defensive side of it, being more of a lower, defensive unit.
I saw that last year a couple of times, weren't they? At home, they were 2-0 up after that. Might have been Southampton, was it? Or a couple of the games there, they were 2-0 up. And all of a sudden, it's almost like they don't quite know what to do, having got 2-0 up. Do we push for the third? Maybe not. Or do we sit back? And they kind of do neither.
Yeah.
I just wonder if these are all Antonio Rudiger. Is there? I said before, if he hangs around long enough, the the rotation might come that sooner or later he might have another role to play. I know he had a little bit of a bad time towards the end of last season and maybe didn't start this season well, but I think there's a defender in there, Rob. I think there's a decent defender in there. And
didn't he say it from day one, Rob, when he just took over, that the Rudiger's he's the main kind of leader in there?
He said about personality, didn't he? He's a real personality for him.
Something must have happened between the two of them because they really fallen out. And he didn't leave, but they were trying to get rid of him in this window. I'd love to see Antonio Rudiger given another chance.
Me too.
I'll be alongside Thiago Silva. I'm a big fan of Reece James and Ben Chilwell. Yeah. Try and maybe have to reorganise midfield somehow to be more defensive-minded.
Just one more thing off. Does he have to stick with something at some point? Even if it's still, as the odd result, okay, this is my back four. Does he have to kind of stay? The moment one's in, one's out. Zuma's in, Christensen's out. Christensen's in, he's out. Aspilicueta's right back, Rita's right back. And I know, listen, games are coming up, but isn't there some stability at some point? Like, don't I learn to have a relationship with my back four?
Yeah, that's personnel. I mean, I do like the way the last 3 or 4 games he's stuck with the same system, 4-2-3-1, which really helps Kai Havertz. But if they can't defend as a team when they really need to, then they'd have to look to change it again. That's a problem, absolutely the problem.
Manchester United were 1 goal down after a minute or so on the clock. Ended up winning 4-1. A couple of really good goals to win it. Where are we with Ollie this week, Robbie Mustoe? The Ole Gunnar Solskjaer show.
Oh, crikey.
Good win.
Yeah, I mean, good reaction.
Yeah.
Interesting game from Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
Misses the penalty, but then snaps the ball into the top corner later on.
Yeah.
Opens up a little bit. Rashford, I thought, needed a goal, Rob, playing as a centre forward.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting team decision, Rob, with... there's a lot of pressure on United in this game to go to Newcastle and win it. We know they've got PSG, I think, isn't it? It's a PSG.
Yeah, Tuesday, tomorrow night, big game.
To play Juan Mata and Dan James in this game, and Tomine and Fred.
Tomine and Fred behind Bruno.
Pogba's left out.
Van de Beek.
I don't understand how Donny Van de Beek didn't start this game.
Is he starting tomorrow night then? Or if not, if he doesn't start in the league game against Newcastle, and he doesn't start in the Champions League, he's not in your first 11, is he?
Well, he ain't ready then. It must be something he looked in training where he's just not ready, which would be surprising.
I kind of think Manchester United should be buying ready-made, ready to go players. But listen, that we'll see how that one goes. But you were right. I actually thought Bruno Fernandes and Juan Mata were playing on a different level at times.
Yeah, they're good.
He loves to play with smart, intelligent footballers.
Yeah.
And they trusted each other and they played the ball and they created things. And I mean, I thought they were the difference in the end.
Yeah, I thought they were as well. I mean, some nice football. I mean, poor Pogba, I don't think it's the time to jump to conclusions about why he wasn't playing. Maybe he needs a rest. Maybe PSG is a big game for him that he wants to feel 100%. But I think, crikey, I've said this so much about United. Are we again, and I'll ask you the question, are we again this season, Rob? I think there's two losses, 2 wins, and a draw for United.
Yeah.
I think it'll be the same story of you're going to see good United and bad United, and each week you don't really know which one you're going to get.
Good. Well, some of the good United is going to come through. I mean, the football for the 3rd goal was really good football. The Bruno goal where they played it through, he's run on the outside, he's played it. So it's lovely.
Yeah, it's lovely.
And we're going to see individuals have good days when they'll win. What I don't see is a consistency of rigour, of hard work, of nil-nils, etching a 1-0 out and saying those are good results as well. That's going to be the challenge for Man United. And I think we are where we are, Rob. I think by Christmas we'll be saying a similar thing. Difficult run coming up. They go PSG, Chelsea next weekend. So another good test against a really attacking side who'll test the defence. Harry Maguire, I believe, isn't going to play tomorrow. I heard that he's not fit to play in the PSG game, which is obviously a blow to him.
He played well, didn't he?
A bit of credit to him, Rob, for the weekend because he was up against it. Public, social media. People were talking about possibly does he need to be taken out of the firing line. We know he's got his off-field incidents at the moment, but big header, big performance by the captain. He was close to being my underappreciated this week. I'm Maguire, in fairness. I thought, you know what, fair play to you because there might have been a few ducked out, like, oh, my hamstring's a bit tight. I'm not quite ready for it.
Yeah, I agree. He got his goal. I thought he was brave. He got on the ball a lot. He passed the ball well, which is one of his good assets.
Yeah.
So fair play to him. Just before we move on, Rob, we're probably going to see Edison Cavani soon. And a lot was made about United's window. And I think we both agree that it was really disappointing.
Yeah.
If from a United point of view and trying to improve this squad and taking it to another level, no question. The manager getting United to third last season in Champions League football was really good, given Liverpool's abilities and Man City's, and the expectation that new signings were going to come in to make them even better. Yeah. That being said, Edison Cavani, you aren't getting him at his best. I've just watched him training, Robert. There was some footage of joining training. I still kind of think that he could be really interesting because he's a wiry, he's not a big Falcao. He's more like a frame of a. He's athletic. He's fast.
Yeah,
he's energetic.
He's a taller Vardy, isn't he? He's a taller version of Vardy type.
Yeah, he could be useful and interesting United. I mean, I don't know.
If they create enough chances and work things around the 18-yard box, but that's where sometimes, Rob, we've questioned: have Man United got that kind of routine, that rhythm, that training that we see from other teams? How are they going to create those chances for him? That could be the issue.
Yeah, but if they do, we might say, wow, that was pretty good.
He could still finish.
It's just there doesn't seem to be a lot of longevity in that. It's a bit of a band-aid, a bit of a stopgap. And we could go on and on about the recruitment. Why a 33-year-old and why was it so late, etc., etc. I just want to throw it out there that he might surprise a few. He might look pretty lively and bang some goals in. But the hardest thing will be to be able to do that consistently at United, given the energy needed to be successful in the Premier League.
And also, he needs a team that can have possession, that can create chances for him. And we've seen these days with Manchester United where that doesn't necessarily always happen. And it's how he fits in the side that doesn't have as much ball, that isn't getting not playing in the last third. He's somebody who needs a little bit of service to get his goal. So, that's going to be interesting to see whether he's involved against PSG tomorrow night or certainly against Chelsea at the weekend. I think United fans will be looking forward to seeing what sort of shape Edison Cavani is in. Moving on to the other team in Manchester this week, Man City came out 1-0 winners against Arsenal at the weekend. Quite anticipated game, which I thought Arsenal were a little bit disappointing in this one, Rob. Mikel Arteta kind of went a bit strange with the Willian as a bit of a false nine with Pepe one side, Aubameyang the other, and was that overthinking it a little bit too much?
No, the same. I got the same stuff like on my notes here from the game. I got disappointing. I got. There's two parts to it. Didn't like the attacking setup at all. We know the times now with people kind of self-isolating, recovering from COVID, international travel. Maybe Lacazette wasn't ready to go or something, but that and why play Willian as the kind of the main central player? I didn't like it at all. No. Nicola Pepe, how I feel about him, Rob, and there's moments that he does great things. He scored, didn't he, last weekend?
It's frustrating, isn't it? Because there's a footballer in there. You see moments where you go, wow, that's what you buy.
Yeah. So I don't like him being in the team. I didn't like William playing up front. So that was disappointing. The other thing that was disappointing, Rob, I don't know what you thought about it. I thought Arsenal lacked drive and confidence and enthusiasm for the game. I really didn't see that coming where they didn't seem to be particularly difficult to play against. I know, there's only one goal in the game. I just thought there was a little lack of energy that I expected from their team.
Do you know what I would say is it felt like this was it felt like an Unai Emery performance. And it was Unai Emery. I think we just said, oh, look, they haven't even got the drive. The things we'd expected that have been consistent with Mikel Arteta was missing.
It was.
And I think he talked after he was kind of semi-talking up. I thought it was a bit of a step back. It looked like a bit of the old Arsenal just coming to roost, which is a little reminder of the work he's got to do in that. And that's not taking anything away from City, who got the job done, played some nice football, lovely slick goal, kept a clean sheet, which will no doubt help with Dice and that in the team. Played the Punishes him a bit Kyle Walker at times he was almost 3 at the back, and Rodri in front of him, and then he loaded people up, played Sterling and Aguero quite central, which was quite an interesting way of playing. So the tactics was like they were both trying to out-tactic each other, which City certainly won. But as you say, the most disappointing thing for me about Arsenal was I felt a bit like the old Arsenal from about a year ago. I used to go, they aren't turning up today.
Yeah, and I think there's been a lot of big strides forward for Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, for sure.
No question.
Yeah.
And I just expect a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just jumping back on the City. Yeah, I mean, we always, the game kicks off, Rob, doesn't it? We're in the studio and we kind of figure out, okay, how are they playing? What's the system? I think like 15, 20 minutes before we figured out what they were doing. I mean, we know he chucks it in a little bit. Walker, Diaz, and Ake were pretty much a back three. Phil Foden was kind of a wing back, but came inside. So Cancelo was the right-sided player. Mahrez was to the right with 2 forwards. It was a bit wacky. The main thing, though, forget all that. Clean sheet. Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake. It is a new look City defensive line, or certainly personnel. And that's the most important thing, as well as the return of Sergio Aguero. That's interesting to watch. If defensively, this club can find a way to be more reliable and more durable, then we're talking. Then we're talking at the top end of the league table and what we can do to try and overcome Liverpool. That's different, and that's something that we're working next weekend, Rob. We'll take a look at how this City team is developing from the defensive kind of point of view first. Yeah,
for sure. So there was one more incident in this game, Rob, and I know you got your say in it over the weekend. The Sergio Aguero with this sort of hand on the shoulder, neck of Sean Massey-Ellis, divided and still seem to have divided opinion, certainly in social media. Some males and females thinking that it was okay, that, you know, it's okay, whether it was male or female, we shouldn't be saying anything. Some saying that they didn't feel it was right because she's a female, or they don't feel it was right on a referee assistant, whatever the gender. You had your say on it and were a little uncomfortable with it, I know, which was interesting.
I just, of course, things happen so quickly. I think the first time we looked in the studio, we were like, well, that was a bit, wow, what happened there? And we didn't really examine it enough. And we wanted to go back as soon as we could to go back and talk about it, because we looked at it a zillion times. And my point of view, I thought it was a bad look. I thought it was patronizing. I didn't like, I mean, I know it's in slow motion. I don't like the way that he pulled her neck towards him a little bit. She had to kind of put her arm, I thought, to kind of like off, keep away from me a little bit. I know Rebecca felt strongly that she felt very uncomfortable with it. And any attention on Sean Massey-Ellis in this situation, if she feels uncomfortable in any way, then that's not okay. And I just didn't like it at all, Rob. Very uncomfortable, very unnecessary. But I want to hear what you thought about it.
It was an interesting one. I saw it more on social media, and the more I saw it, the more uncomfortable I became. Every time I saw it, it kind of irked with me a little bit. And I thought it's important that we have our say on this. And I know, many people have. And I think it's important that we don't dodge situations. Because I also think one of the most important opinions was Rebecca Lowe's. And I know in the lowdown you touched the question, and anybody, our listeners or people watching the show, get a chance
on YouTube,
watch the lowdown, they'll hear and see Rebecca's opinion, which I think is important, Rob, because as we did during lockdown in the summer, saw a lot of racial issues that were happening at the time, and we spoke about things. And I was in the privileged, however you look at it, position where, as a black man, I can talk about real things and how I feel. What I can't do in this situation, talk about what a female feels like in a male. Rebecca Lowe can. She's been that pioneer. She's been the one who's broke through and is hosting shows and FA Cup finals and all these things. And she knows some of the challenges to be respected as a woman in the game. Now, I think that's important. To me, that's important. That's a message we should be. There should be a moral compass that's a message. Now, I'm not jumping down the ban Sergio Aguero, whatever. I think a letter from the Premier League or FA, just in terms of his behaviour towards Sean Massey, might be something he thinks about. But I think the bigger picture here, Rob, for me, as I see it, is we're talking about a game with diversity. We're talking about racial equality and things. Well, the gender equality is important. And Sean Massey shouldn't be, in some respects, he shouldn't be treated any different as a referee's assistant. Because, by the way, in terms of referee's assistants, she's as good as there is. When she puts it flat, don't bother going to VAR, you're offside. She's
very, very good.
She talked about her ability doing her job. But there are things that I believe, Rob. So, as a footballer, you know when you're coming off and the manager gives you that little tap on the bum and you feel a bit better about yourself because he's going, hey, well done today. Now, if that's a female, you wouldn't do that, or you shouldn't do that because she's a female. Yeah. You know, if you're a mate and I grab you by the head and, hey, you know, or I give you a little dig in the ribs and we have a laugh about things as a male, we can do that. We shouldn't. Those things, you're saying things you shouldn't do with one. I don't think you should be putting your hand on the shoulder and neck of a female assistant. You shouldn't be putting on an assistant full stop, but certainly not a female assistant and think that that's okay because it puts her in an uncompromising, uncomfortable position. It draws a spotlight on her that she doesn't need. Yeah, you're
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And we had a lot of conversations before we went on air, actually, on Sunday. And Rebecca said the same things. You know, nobody can walk in these shoes. She's walked in those shoes. You walked in those shoes as a black man, Rob. And it's really hard. You know, we respect the opinion we learned from you in those debates. And I learned from Rebecca in the chats that we had beforehand. And yes, I agree with what you say. Like, she shouldn't be treated any differently because she's in this game, in the men's game. But she's a female. She's a female, and there's certain things. It's like the rules and what he could be punished for. You can't touch a referee. You know, if it's aggressive or a gesture. Well, he wasn't aggressive in some way, but there's something else maybe needs to be in there now with the modern day, with females getting involved in the game, where there's some other kind of law or some guidelines that relates more to being a female.
This could be a learning thing for the Premier League. Again, I don't think it's a massive jump on Sergio Aguero, banning for the I think it's the kind of thing that the Premier League could highlight and could say, these are the things that we're going to make sure the game is diverse, that gender equality is there, that a woman... Because Sean Massey, by the way, should be your centre referee.
Yes.
Right now. She's good enough. Absolutely good enough. And whether the Premier League are holding her back or waiting for the time, she would be as good as we've got in the Premier League because she understands the game and knows it brilliantly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So it's something that, we wanted to have a little chat about it, Rob. Because
it's important we have that chat. It's important, I think, our opinions out there. And I think we kind of agree that it's something that, you know, listen, it's not huge and it's not game-changing, but it's something the game can address and certainly the game can look at. Well, the results this weekend, my friend. Sheffield United won, Fulham won. Sheffield United still, struggling for points. Both teams down at the wrong end of the table. Crystal Palace won, Brighton won in what's seen as a bit of a derby. Late equaliser. I think it was McAllister got the equaliser from the Zaha penalty. 1-1 in that. Leicester City 0, Aston Villa 1. Aston Villa going very, very nicely. Your mate Dean Smith will be. We can get to England. You'll be going around for Sunday dinner. And
he won't invite me anymore. He's too big time for me now, I bet. But no, Ross Barkley, Rob, getting the goal. And God, blimey, what a good get that was for Villa. And what a team that's now. To be fair, it's always wanted to be on the front foot and play, and had some issues with that last season. But defensively, I think they've conceded 2 goals, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, if Frank Lampard ever needs to just look at what defending does to a team, look at from Villa and how they've improved from lockdown to now, just by defending better.
John Terry might be involved in the defensive improvements of Villa, and I wonder if Frank might try and get on the phone to. Anyway,
JT is running his own ship by now, my friend. JT.
Yeah, he's going to be done after this with it being an assistant. So it's a brilliant result for Aston Villa, flying high in the league table. We just watched Wolves beat Leeds in a kind of interesting game where Wolves were happy to sit back and play on the counter again. Played well in the second half, and Leeds were a little unlucky with a few opportunities. They didn't kind of find a way through a good defensive unit.
On that one, I just want to say, if Raul Jimenez plays for Leeds, Leeds win that game.
Yeah, They absolutely right, mate.
Who takes those half chances wins the game for Leeds. That's where they're a little short at the moment.
That Patrick Bamford, who's done really, really well. Yeah,
brilliant.
Just
brilliant.
Looked a little bit.
Yeah.
He struggled today to be effective.
And Rodrigo's going to have to step in and one or two others to help him out. But I'll just
no, the last bit of the show, of course, is you're waiting to see who my underappreciated performer is in the Premier League this weekend. And I've gone a bit left field. And to be fair, it wasn't a great game. West Brom versus Burnley, 0-0. Kind of a struggle to work on it and to come up with anything particularly interesting on it. But underappreciated talent is Dwight McNeil. Now, I know within Burnley, within the football club, of course, he's appreciated. And he's just signed a
new
big
long
contract for another 6 years. But watching his development and his improvement and his quality and his confidence with that left foot, whether it's crossing great balls in, dribbling inside, making good decisions with his passing and his vision, his awareness, he is going places. I said that about Sander Berger, Sheffield United midfield player, 22 years of age, looks powerful, got a little bit of everything. Dwight McNeil can play at a way higher level than Burnley. And again, I'm not saying he should look to leave the club. He's happy and he's on a long-term contract, which will protect his value for the club. But I just think he's underappreciated in football, in the Premier League. People maybe don't watch Burnley much. He's a talented left-sided midfield player. There is not a ton of those around. And I think it's time to mention Dwight McNeil as being having a big future in the Premier League.
Nice little shout, Mr. Mustoe. Left field for a left winger. Ex-Manchester United was, as a kid, I think he left United at 14, went to Burnley. Burnley have done a great job. And I think it's one of those where that's the kind of pickups Burnley are going to do. And if things went terribly wrong and for any reason Burnley struggled and went down, there'd be plenty of suitors for McNeil. There's plenty of places in the Premier League, I think, where he'd find a home and he'd be a decent player. So I'll agree with you on that one. Listen, mate, we've got a new segment to our show, and it's with our new partners, PointsBet Sportsbook, and it's a segment where we're going to look at different odds during the games. This week we're going to look at the title odds, and I think the main reason for that is, Rob, not only did Liverpool draw in the derby, but this weekend they lost Virgil van Dijk, which we now know is looks like for the majority of the season to an ACL, and just how things have changed in what bookies and people believe is the outlook for the title. So before this weekend, virtually Manchester City and Liverpool were pretty much evens on. Manchester City were plus 150, Liverpool were plus 138. So pretty much even that in terms of where they were in terms of winning the league. Since the weekend, Man City winning, Liverpool drawing, Liverpool Van Dijk injury, Manchester City have gone up to minus 110, which basically means if you put on £110, you win 100. Liverpool have gone to plus 225, which means if you put on $100 for Liverpool, you win 225 back. So they're something like 2 and a bit to 1, and Manchester City are now even favourites. And then below those, we've got Tottenham at plus 1,200, so it's basically 12 to 1. Chelsea at plus 2,000, which is about 20 to 1. Everton similar, 20 to 1. Arsenal plus 2,800, which is 28 to 1. And then outside that, Manchester United find themselves.
Were you surprised how high Everton are in these potential title? I mean, way above Man United.
Do you know what I'm thinking? That people may believe this is a Leicester City season. The big six might all just be inconsistent, might all not consistent, and somebody can come through the ranks. So, Carlo Ancelotti and Everton. It's got as much experience as Ranieri, the last Italian to win the title. It's got a good group of players. Aston Villa, Robbie Mustoe, or
plus 6,600.
Plus 6,600, so 66 to 1. Aston Villa are making a leap, because they're unbeaten. They started the season well. Could it be their team? Leicester City, that last team that did it in 2015-16, are 800 to 1, which means they're 80 to 1 in real terms, as we know it, to win the title again. So, when you think of Everton, Aston Villa and Leicester City in the running for the title, and reasonable odds if you think at this stage of the season.
All right, mate. Enough numbers. Let's cut to the chase. Let's cut to the chase at the top. Virgil van Dijk being out for the season, which he's pretty much almost guaranteed to be out for the whole season. We both fancied Liverpool Football Club to win the title, to regain the title this season. They won it by 18 points last year. I've said it over this weekend. I still won't change my tip of who's winning the title, given what we've seen, and given what I can expect from the manager and other players at the football club and what they might do in January. I still believe, of course, it's going to be much, much harder and much, much closer. I still think Liverpool are favourites. I worked with Tim Howard this weekend. Tim doesn't. Tim thinks that now takes some, like our friends from PointsBet Sportsbook. He's saying they're not favourites for him. But I want to know what my mate Robbie Earle thinks.
I'm putting my $100 at plus 225 that Liverpool win.
Oh.
Jamie Carragher, one of our colleagues at Sky Sports, a Liverpool legend, he said he didn't think they could. I think, and this is where I go back to the Chelsea situation. What Chelsea, they're plus 2,000 at the moment. So 20-1. I think there's a team ethic about Liverpool that might mean they won't win it as much. They might mean they concede some goal, but they defend as a team. That a lot of other teams don't do. And yes, he's brilliant at the heading and he can start out. But there's a mentality of that football club that yes, you're going to miss one of the best centre backs in world football, but find another way. Can they find another way? Can they get to Christmas and look at maybe if they need to go and bring somebody to fill that gap? So I'm sticking with what I've got. I mean, I think Man City is going to be interesting, and that's why we need to keep a close eye the next couple of weeks with Kevin Diaz, who looks like I like the look of him really early yet. I like the look of his mentality, just his body language. But we'll see. We'll see whether they can improve that side of it. First game for him for a while, Aguero. You know, him back in the team's an absolute bonus. Jesus, they say, isn't too far away. Starting to get a few bodies back. So I mean, you know. Edison as well came up with a couple of big saves, by the way, the goalkeeper. Time we're talking about Chelsea, Kepa and Jordan Pickford. They're not got a good goalkeeper.
The last little note, Rob, before we wrap up, is that Alisson is back, starting to get back into his training. So if Alisson's out for another couple of months, that would maybe be a worry. Then really to worry, because Adrian looks shaky as anything as a goalkeeper. But I think he's just started to re-enter training. Reports have said not with a full squad yet, but with a goalie coach and starting to get moving again.
A couple of weeks maybe after the next break.
Really important for Liverpool going forward now.
Absolutely. What do we can? That was my friend. Day 5 in the Premier. I mean, just extraordinary stuff all around. The 3-3 between Tottenham and West Ham was spectacular. We're going to turn our attention to Europe this week in a big week of Champions League action. Chelsea hosts Sevilla. Manchester United travel to Paris. That's Tuesday. Wednesday, Man City face Porto, while Liverpool go to Amsterdam to play Ajax without Dutch defender Virgil van Dijk. So we'll be back on Wednesday. That's October the 22nd. So make sure you're dating your diary. October 22nd, we'll review all the English teams in Europe's finest club competition. All the Champions League games we'll look back on this Wednesday. But for now, as ever, I'm Earle. He's Mustoe, together with the two Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Be safe and be healthy. It's a good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe. Make sure you subscribe to watch highlights all season long and always join us every weekend at 7 a.m. on NBCSN for Premier League mornings. Plus, make sure you subscribe to Peacock Premium as well, where you can watch exclusively live 175 games and same-day on-demand replays of all 380 Premier League matches as well.